Hello everyone, welcome. EagleX from EagleX ATX Gaming here, and today I have a good friend of mine. I have HavocRequiem. If you want to say hi, Havoc.
How's it going?
My friend Havoc here, he had an amazing run at Nationals. He got top 16 with his GabuBond list, and today I thought it'd be fun to go over the BT6 EX1 GabuBond list that he ran through, conversation through some matchups, some thoughts he had, if he had to do it again, some things we can change, that type of conversation. And then after this, we're going to be moving on to more BT7 content for the channel afterwards. But with that being said, Havoc, let's go ahead and start looking at the deck profile overall.
Sure. Well, the eggs are pretty common. The 4 Upamon, and then I just threw in the Digimon just for the extra DP, just in case, you know, it crashes into other bonds.
Yeah, so it helps the bonds and security, it gives a little bit more longevity. Like, even if, like, I know we're going to show your level 4s here in a moment, but, like, it gives that little bit of buff so you can swing over if you had to do board trades and all that, too, right?
Yeah. And then since I'm actually playing 2 copies of the starter deck GabuBond, this combined with the Digimon lets me get out of lethal from Wyvern's Breath or anything like that.
Oh, that's actually a DP threshold I wasn't even thinking of. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the next part. Tamers Rookies with here. Some really common staples though for GabuBond lists overall is Drabu. And I noticed you actually only have 3 copies of Drabu. Is there a reason you opted for 3 rather than 4?
I honestly didn't really like running 4 of them because I would see it more often than the rest of them. I felt the third Betamon would be more helpful, especially against Lilith Loop or, you know, the mirror match, because I was expecting to see a lot of the mirror match, but I honestly did not. I played against more Jessamon than I did GabuBond.
Yeah, and like the Madokis were like ways to say you have a safe way to swing into security. They don't get memory gain to end your turn prematurely, which is probably the biggest reason I imagine you have it, aside from memory boost blocking.
Yeah.
And then you emphasize EX1 GabuBond because Terrible's just crazy good, especially when you emphasize level 4s, right?
Yeah, I loved EX01 GabuBond. Like, I thought it was really, really, really good.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, when you attack, his Inheritable lets you look at top 3 and add 1 card with GabuBond or a Tamer. It's not color restricted. But I don't think it really mattered for your list, because I do believe all your targets were blue Tamers anyways.
Yes.
And then you have lots of GabuMons you can pull here. And then 2 copies of Strabimon from BT4. So that card, I imagine, is like your way to try to refill, get your finisher like your Lobomon, to get a Matt or Davis to start getting you set up to start, not snowballing, well, I guess snowballing with the deck, right?
Well, yeah, actually, a lot of my wins were just because I had so many hybrids in my hand and just pushed for lethal.
Yeah. So that's like the really basic rookie count here. We can go ahead and move on to level 4s, though, for the deck. So level 4, we obviously run hybrids, like you're mentioning there. It's why you have the Strabis. The bread and butter hybrids for GabuBond is typically 4 Lobomon, then depending on how much you like Kendo Garurumon, he's like a 2 to 3 of.
Yeah.
Your accounts here, you have 2 Kendo Garurumon, 4 Lobomon, and 3 Octomon. So walk me through why the counts you have.
I really like Kendo, and I tried it at 3, and I saw myself drawing too many Kendos early on, and depending on the matchup, I just didn't want to see that. I would rather see more Lobos or more Octos, so I decided to go for the 3rd Octo over the 3rd Kendo.
Yeah. Now, I noticed when I look at a lot of, like, GabuBond lists, a lot of people liked the EX1 Ikakumon. Did you do any playtesting with that card?
I did, and I honestly didn't like it because I found that the times that I drew the 1 of, they always had a source, or they would always try to play around it. So it didn't really help as much as just kind of be a dead draw.
Yeah, then Octomon's just a big beat stick.
Yeah.
Ken the Gurumon's a great card. When I build decks, if I consider a card like a must-see in the deck to win, it's a 4 of. Lobomon, I imagine every time you saw it, you're pretty happy overall, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great win button finisher. It's a great way just to go over an X-Gabu even if you just need to get the draw and get some more digging in. Kenoguru, like you're saying, though, it's like a 2 of. It's a card where you will see a healthy amount in the matchups where it matters, but it won't show up in matchups you don't want it.
Right.
What matchups would you say it was a really good card for in particular?
In the actual tournament, they were really good against Jesmon. I would bounce the Blancs.
Oh, so they lose blocker.
Yes. Yeah, so they would lose blocker, and then a lot of the times when Jesmon, at least the Jesmons I played, when they wouldn't have pieces, they would just kind of swarm the board with Huckmons or Sistermons, and I would just be putting them back to his hand and just basically stalling for long enough for me to go to game, and that's kind of how I won against them.
Yeah, because you don't like early bond as much in the deck unless you have to like start controlling board immediately before you take lethal damage or something like that. But that's
yeah.
Good.
I did learn from one of my friends that I play tested against. He also played GabuBond. Going early bond is sometimes necessary to put you in a good board state. Like if you can clear his board and do at least 2 damage, like taking the two security loss isn't a big deal, and sometimes it just puts you in a pretty good tempo swing, especially if you have a Digimon still in the raising area.
Yeah, it's just really good. Like you're saying, board tempo, board state, clear your opponent's board, do some damage. If you can clear their board and basically net the 2 damage you were losing anyways, it's a win, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, we talked about level 4s for quite a bit here and just kind of started skewing off conversation. Let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the deck. Right here we have our 4 boss monsters, 4 Bond of Friendship, 4 Mats, 3 Davis, and then 1 Sora Joe. So when we're playing GabuBond, you're going to have the 4 Mat Tamers. It's draw, it's memory. It's just a really good consistency card. It enables warping, so that makes sense as a 4 of. Now, when I look at a lot of lists, I see people debating if they run Sora Joe, if they run Starter Deck Matt, if they run 2 to 3 Davis, and then obviously the Pepsi Bond variants that run the Red Starter Deck Ties. Did you find the Sora Joe being useful as a 1 of? Did you wish you saw it more?
I wish I did see it more. Maybe in the future I'd cut one of the Davis for another Sora Joe, because seeing this early on was huge in against Jesmon, even the mirror match, and surprisingly Diaboromon, because they always have something without a source, and that extra 2 memory is really good. And then also it helps me strip sources, so it combos pretty well with
Howling
with the
Boost,
Hounds.
right? Yeah.
So these cards saved me a lot in the security control matchup.
Yeah, you stun blockers, you stun their big guys, you just make it so they don't do much. You get value.
I just kept stunning their defeats so that they wouldn't keep attacking me.
Yeah. And then when you open like a game, like you're going first, and a lot of people, their big thing is they want to Digivolve with Rookie and then typically slam a Tamer. Is that like your play style? Like, would you slam a Davis turn 1 every chance you could?
I try to put them to the least bit of memory I can turn 1. If my hand doesn't have that many options, then I would try to do a Davis turn 1. But if I were to have a Mat, then I would always try to do a Mat turn 1 if I have a Gabu, because that extra memory and that extra draw always helps.
Yeah, and that's something I started noticing like better GabuBond players do. Like, they won't slam a Mat on the turn. They won't be promoting a Gabu the next turn. They want to get the value immediately.
Yes.
Yeah, so like in that situation, it's like, well, a Mat won't do anything if you have a Madoki in raising, right? You want to maybe emphasize a Davis to draw to try to get something better, or even a Sora Joe if you don't have anything great in hand other than that.
Right. Because I did notice that a lot of people, at least against GabuBond, they try to put down their memory tamers turn 1 because we have the ability to choke them to 1 like almost every single turn, especially with the with everyone's favorite and most balanced card, Ice Wall.
Yeah.
So choking them to 1 is super easy, so that's why they always want to slam that memory tamer. So I typically don't really mind putting a mat or putting something like that, because even if they were to put you to 1, that mat would put you to 2. You could digivolve into an Octo to attack, or like you could do so many things even at 1 memory just because mat gives you more memory.
Yeah, and he can't even be blocked by a memory blocker because he is a tamer that gives that memory.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So that's Tamers and Boss Monster. Now let's go to options, the fun part. I think this is where you see a lot more variety in GabuBond decks. Some people love certain options over others. Some of them put some as 4Fs because it's like the absolute best card of the deck, i.e. Ice Wall. I personally think if you were playing GabuBond and you didn't have 4 Ice Wall, you better have 4 Hammer Spark filling in that last spot there.
Basically.
Yes.
I actually opted out to play only 3 Hammer Sparks instead of the 4 so that I can fit the Sora Joe. Since everyone's playing memory blockers and they're trying to put them down as fast as possible, I usually had dead Hammer Sparks in hand unless I found a way to get rid of their memory blocker with like a Kendo or something. But they can't block Sora Joe, so I would always get 2 memory from that.
Yeah, that's definitely a highlight there. A Howling Memory Boost, it's not just a memory boost for 2 memory later, but it's also a stun like we were talking about earlier. It's a way to stop Mechanoris from denying Lobomon finish. It's a way to stun, like you're saying, Zwart defeats to punish security control for getting a free level 7.
Yes, and then I've actually already changed my list because I've been playing this at locals. I'm now playing 2 Rattlestar, but it was an absolute blast for the tournament, just in case I played against security control, because that Sakuyamon is a very big obstacle for this deck, as well as Craniumon.
Yeah, and the whole reason for Absolute Blast is because it bot decks it without needing 3 Digis on the field, right?
Yes.
So did you find the Absolute Blast being dead in hand more than anything, or did you just always say, I wish this was Rattlestar when you saw it?
Every time I saw it, I wish it was Rattlestar. Because in the tournament, I only played against 1 security control, and that was day 2. But like day 1, 0 security control, always wished it was Rattlestar.
Yeah. So we talked about the deck itself. Like Absolute Blast, Rattlestar, they're both removal options. They're very cost efficient too, I'd say. Cocytus is the only one I see lots of other lists considering. Did you try out Cocytus at some point, or did you just find it to be too much?
I did try it for a while, and that 7 memory was just too much. Like it didn't seem like, no matter what, almost every single time I played it, that would be the only move I can do that turn. And that just didn't seem good for me. Because even with Rattlestar, I could have options to do more than one thing. Because I might have more than one mat. I could have like 2 mats and a Sora Joe, or I could have some Howling Memory Boost. I could have some Hammer Sparks and get that extra memory to go above 5, so that I could at least do more than one play without putting them into so much memory. And the Cocytus, I just saw, if I did anything before playing the Cocytus, I'd be giving them so much memory, and that just did not seem like a efficient thing to do right now with how fast our meta is.
Yeah, and just also touching up on that, it doesn't really answer the Sakuya problem either, I guess we were talking about. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't get rid of it. It goes back to the hand. They're going to slam it back down to deny you again. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, though. So we talked about the deck. Let's go ahead and briefly talk about matchups. tell us, day one, what was it, like 9 rounds, right?
Yeah.
So what did your day one look like? It doesn't have to be perfect, but just like roughly. You talked about you had lots of Jesmons, you had 1 security control.
Day one, I played Jesmon round 1, then Commandramon, then Jesmon, then a interesting Titanmon, Dukemon purple deck. Then I played Jesmon again. Then I played against my first Diaboromon, which unfortunately I lost due to the most horrible misplay I have ever done, which just demoralized me for the rest of that match. And then I played against another Diaboromon where I redeemed myself, and I won that matchup 2-0. Then I played GabuBond, which I won 2-1 and then 2-0.
Nice. So Jesmon is definitely one of the better matchups for the deck because they're trying to build their board, but you're just so much more consistent. And if they even try leaving something out, you just bop deck it, right?
Basically.
Was that like basically the story of every single Jesmon matchup?
Yeah, they were just too slow. By the time they got what they needed, I would either put them to 1 memory with Ice Wall, or I would double Ice Wall them and then put them to 3 memory. I believe there was one matchup where I just triple Ice Walled, and that's all I did.
Yeah. Good luck trying to get your swing and restand.
Yeah, basically. My last match with Jesmondo in round 4, I believe, or round 5. In that one, I didn't draw a single rookie for maybe 4 turns, and I was just forced to hard play my level 4s, which I was lucky to have. So I was just hard playing my Octos like one after another. I would hard play the Kendo. Like, I just did not see any rookies at all, and I still somehow managed to win.
Yeah, good. Like, they're big beat sticks, to be fair, too. And Jesmon, like, the only way they're getting draw typically is from a Huckmon or from an Inheritable and a rookie. And if they're swinging with that stack, they're losing their stack more than likely because you got bigger numbers on average.
Yeah.
Beyond the rookies, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and then a lot of the Jesmon players were very confident in swinging with their level 5s because my deck typically has 7Ks and lowers besides the bond. And the times that they did do that, they got unlucky, and they usually hit a Hammer Spark, a Ice Wall, or a Bond. So it would either pass the turn or kill their level 5. So I was lucky in that regard. And when that happened, they could not come back from that.
Yeah, it's just like you lose way too much board tempo. Now, day 2, let's go ahead and walk through day 2. Your top cut, you're what, like top 60 something at this point, right?
For day 1, I was 11th. That was my rank.
Yeah, 11th in your pod. Then going into day 2, there's like, what, 60, 70 some people, right?
Yes. For that one, I believe I was 25th.
Okay. So we had really strong, like, starting out, and we know day 2, you have to make top cut again and the top 8, basically, for the next round of gameplay. Briefly talking about your matchups, you said you went against Mituation's Megazoo list. More Megazoo than Security Control, right?
Yeah. I believe I played against them either round 2 or round 3, and that was just so one-sided because I was expecting like a black Megazoo or more black oriented deck. So I basically try to rush as much as possible before the Craniomons came out or all the Mechanorimons came out. And I just got blindsided by a Magnadramon. And that took so much like of my tempo away because I had already lost cards. I was already like down, and I still tried my best. I tried to swing for game in one of our games, and he had a Chinchuriki, which digivolved my Lobomon. That was a misplay on my hand. I should have attacked with that one first. But once I saw the Holy Wave, which was the next security, it basically proved that even if I didn't misplay, there was no way I was going to win that. So it was just a straight 2-0. by him, and the deck just completely countered mine. He had every game. He just had the answer for every one of my plays.
Yeah, and I think that's really what he did when he took his deck building into consideration. Like, he was countering GabuBond entirely. Like, it was like 3 Ancient Troy, so it was a definitely difficult matchup for any GabuBond list. And then, what else did you go against day 2?
I played against one security control player. It was just generic security control with, I believe, a couple Beelstar. That was basically a pretty common matchup. Just try to swing for game as fast as possible and hope you have enough hybrids to take their security, which is actually what happened. I was able to set up enough Tamers, stun him for enough time to set up enough Tamers to then the way I won 2-0, and I'm glad I won 2-0 and not going into a third match or third game, was I basically had a Sora Joe, a Howling Memory Boost, and all my Hammer Sparks in hand. So I attacked with everything I could. I bonded, and I even played 4 Lobos. So I pulled every piece out of my deck that I needed to get that win.
Yeah, that's like your bread and butter for countering security controls. Like, you just hide on the Tamers that they can't interact with that well. Kind of like what's going to be happening in this upcoming format with BT7. Everyone sets up these Tamers, and that's why security control just kind of dies. You go over them, then you start swinging and doing all your stuff. I just want to say congratulations again, though, Havoc. It is a really awesome performance to see you top 16. Does it get you excited for this upcoming season with BT7 and this 2022 season?
Yeah, it actually gets me pretty excited. I want to keep doing the best I can, and this new set just has so many theories to try out, and I just don't know if I have enough time or cards to try them all, because I'm very interested in what I can do with Yellow Hybrid after, it's nerfed because of MDF and reinforced memory boost. But I'm also really, really interested in purple, and maybe kind of doing a yellow-purple combination that, who knows, it might give people a run for their money.
Yeah. With that being said, thank you so much for coming and talking about your deck list on the channel. I really appreciate it, man. And good luck with this upcoming season. I can't wait to see how strong you perform, and maybe I'll see you in Top Cut, one of these big online regionals, right?
Yeah.
That being said, take care, y'all.